Hi everybody! Thank you so much for joining me on my channel today. My name is Jennifer and this is Pray Girl. I'm so excited and so passionate about this video because becoming a missionary has made my life so fulfilling, and it's something that I wanted to share with you for a very long time. Now before we dive in, I just want to state the obvious and say that I'll be speaking out of my own experience and my own experience alone. I've been a missionary for about 6 years now. I've been married for 9 years. We're nonprofit missionaries, by the way, and I'm also a mother to 2 beautiful children. So my experience as a missionary is going to be very different from other missionaries that may be out there. May God bless all of them. I asked my followers on Instagram what questions you had for me about being a missionary, and I was surprised with how much I had to say about every question. So I decided to narrow it down, and in this video I'll be answering one of the most popular questions that I got, which is, what is my biggest challenge since becoming a missionary? And I just have to say that creating this video was such a blessing to me because I got to see how far I've actually come from those challenges that I'll be mentioning. So out of the challenges that I have faced or that I'm currently facing, I decided to choose 3 of them, and I'm going to be telling you about my struggle with them and what I've done to overcome them, or what I'm still doing to overcome them. I really hope you enjoy this video, and if you do, please give it a thumbs up to let me know, or leave a comment. Anything is appreciated. I also want to let you know that I'm going to be posting more about my journey as a missionary, both on Instagram and on my channel here on YouTube. I decided that I'm going to make small segments. That way the videos don't run extremely long with everything that I have to say. Being a missionary is truly so fulfilling to me, and it's something that I wanted to do since I was a little girl. So I definitely have a heart for this, and my heart has a lot to say on the subject. Now without further ado, come along with me and let's get into the video. So the first challenge that I chose was actually cold weather. If you're used to the cold weather, then this might seem a little silly to you. But I was raised in the desert. So I'm from Las Vegas, and then when I became a missionary, I moved to Arizona, which is also really hot. And I was used to temperatures ranging from like the 90s. In Arizona, I know it went up to, that I can remember, 125 degrees. And that's how I grew up, and that's what my body felt comfortable in. So then when we moved to Helena, Montana, which is where we're now, we got here in February. It was so cold. I remember that the house we walked into, which was going to be our new home, was, we couldn't even get into the driveway because the snow had piled up so high. And this was something that was overwhelming to me. I was thinking, how are we going to shovel this? It's so cold out here. And then walking into the house, it was also really, really cold. So when I had a moment to myself, I walked into our walk-in closet in that house, and I just cried. I was so overwhelmed. I missed the sun so much that I couldn't stop crying. At that moment, I felt lonely. I missed my family. I felt very vulnerable, and I felt very scared. As I said, I was alone, so I kind of let it all out. I knelt down and I prayed, and I remember thinking about a verse in the Bible, which is actually Philippians 2:13. I have it right here. I don't want to butcher it for you guys. And it says, "For it is God who works in you both to will and to do for his good pleasure." So I remember thinking about this verse and saying to myself, there's no greater truth than God's truth. If he put the will in my heart to become a missionary, then he was going to help me through this. And I didn't get up until I felt better, which might have been quite a long time. So that's how I felt before. And the feeling of being overwhelmed lingered for the next few weeks, but I would just come back to truth. I would just come back to remembering that I wasn't doing this on my own strength, and that God was helping me, and that helped me until I was able to form a habit. I should elaborate on that. I believe we can control how we react to things. And I'm not this a robot or anything, and I'm not saying that I'm super good at this, but I am saying that I wanted to form a habit of thinking positively. To be specific, I focused on how beautiful it looked outside. Sometimes the snow looks like glitter, and how much my children enjoy the snow. Now we love to go sledding. My daughter loves to build snowmen. Also, Christmas is so beautiful when there's snow outside. We get to experience all 4 seasons here. So I decided to focus on the amazing experiences that we can have here that we couldn't have in Las Vegas or in Arizona. To recap, for my first challenge, which was the cold weather, first I acknowledged that it made me sad, and then I put it in the Lord's hands. I told him how I felt. Then I remembered his truth. If he put the will in my heart to be here, he was also going to help me with this challenge. And lastly, I decided to focus on the beautiful experiences that we can have here that we couldn't have if we lived in the desert still. So that's the first challenge. The second challenge that I'm going to talk about today is living away from family. How can I elaborate that I miss my family? I'm very close to my mom and to my siblings. Another reason why living away from family has been a challenge is because we don't have babysitters. As a mother, you would feel most comfortable leaving your children, which are my world, with family members, but we don't have that option here. We also don't have any backup if there was an emergency. A good example of that was a few weeks ago. I was very sick and I needed to go to the hospital, but I had no one to take care of my little boy, and I had to take him with me while I was in pain. I was holding him and they were drawing my blood on both arms. So he was on my lap, scared because 2 people were drawing blood from my arms, and I didn't have anyone to leave him with. Also, when it came time to have an x-ray done, he obviously couldn't go into the room with me, so I had to leave him with the nurse. He was really scared, and he cried a lot when I left him there, and I felt guilty for leaving him, and I was in so much pain. I had no backup. That was really hard on the both of us. So not having backup at a time like that is very challenging. And then of course there's birthdays and holidays, days that you want to spend together with your family. The last reason why living away from family has been challenging for me is because my children are also very close to their grandma. It's hard on her and it's hard on them, and that kind of makes it hard on me as well. My daughter especially absolutely loves her grandmother and wants to call her constantly and wants to see her constantly. So this is what I did. Again, honestly and truthfully, I prayed. I'm sorry that it might not seem like a very practical tactic, but it's really helped. Every time that I feel like I miss my family, I pray. Every time that I feel a little overwhelmed, like I wish I had backup, that I feel like I don't know how to tackle a situation where maybe I need to leave my kids somewhere, or I just don't know how to manage, and I wish I had my family to make things easier, I pray. And the Lord is so faithful, you guys, and he does not waver, and he helps me so much. Everything always turns out to be absolutely okay. So thank God for that. Now, I hope this doesn't sound too weird, but not spending birthdays and holidays with my family is really bittersweet to me. I'm the kind of person who really cares about birthdays and holidays. I like to have big gestures and like parties, and I like being able to embrace people we love. So that's the bitter part. I feel so privileged to be able to miss them, knowing that the reason that I'm far away from them is because I'm here as a missionary doing the Lord's work. And that fills me with so much happiness, and it fills me with so much motivation, especially when I'm missing them on like these special days. I hope that makes sense. Lastly, my children not growing up with their grandparents. The way that I've tackled this is getting my children super excited when we're gonna see their grandparents. So like I said, my daughter's very close to my mom, and every time that we see them and we have to say goodbye, I always tell her, just think about how happy you are going to be when you see her again. And every time that she tells me that she misses her grandma, I just suggest calling her, and I remind her that we get to choose how we feel. So we can either choose to be super sad that she's not here now, or we can choose to be excited for the next time that we see her. And I kind of tell her, imagine living with her all the time. You wouldn't be as excited as you are now. And that's enough for my 5-year-old. She feels ecstatic and super excited to see her grandma again. And the same thing works with me. I try to focus on how exciting it is that I have someone I love to miss, and how exciting it's going to be when I get to see them again. So that's how I've dealt with the challenge of living far away from family. It's gotten so much easier, so praise the Lord for that. And I also feel that knowing that my family knows that this is something that I've always wanted to do, and them supporting me has also been such a huge help. Last but not least, the third challenge that I'm going to mention today is probably one of the hardest that I have faced, and it's self-doubt. Okay, so I know I'm not perfect, and I think that it's normal that the negatives tend to stick out more than the positives. And it's so hard sometimes to sit with someone and preach to them all the amazing things that Jesus has to offer: love, patience, salvation, the virtues we can acquire if we cultivate them. And to preach this and know that I haven't mastered this myself is really hard. I think to myself, why me? I think to myself, how could I? And even more so, something that I've dealt with a lot since I became a missionary has been stereotyping. There are people who have been hurt with religion. There are people who think that they're going to be judged. So out of that fear, they judge me. And as soon as they know that I'm a missionary, they kind of shut themselves off and create space. That's very challenging. As a missionary, I'm here to help, but I'm also here to preach. And when I feel like nobody wants to listen, sometimes I can't help but think it's my fault. So it's not only an external challenge, it's also an internal one. I think that's why it's so difficult. On one side, I have the external challenge, which is people wanting to stay away. And then internally, I'll feel guilty, unworthy of this mission and this calling that I have. I feel like I'm not doing a good job. I feel like I can't balance being a wife and a mom with all the duties that encompasses: cooking, cleaning, taking care of my children, being intentional with raising them, and then also preaching, going out to speak to them, going out to Bible studies, going to church, visiting people when they feel ill, visiting people just to know that they're okay, and being very present for them as well. So what I do when self-doubt wants to take over, I look to the Lord and I look to what He has said about me. All of those things are true, but God's truth is greater than mine. I remind myself that I'm not here on my own strength. And a verse that I absolutely love to turn to is James 1:5. Let me look it up really quick. Is it? Yeah, it's James 1:5. See, I'm learning. Okay. It says, "If any of you lacks wisdom, let him ask of God, who gives to all liberally and without reproach, and it will be given to him." So there are a few reasons why this verse means so much to me, but one of the biggest ones is because I feel the most self-doubt when I remember that God has already given me all the tools that I need to be a great missionary. Knowledge and the tools to become more knowledgeable. He's given me the Bible. He's given me so many resources. He's already provided me with opportunities to become more patient. And a lot of the opportunities that God has provided me with, I haven't taken advantage of. And that makes me feel very guilty. And my self-doubt skyrockets because I start to focus on these things. But when I come back to this verse, "If any of you lacks wisdom, let him ask of God, who gives to all." He gives to all. And I just focus on that. This is the part that gets to me probably the most. It says, "without reproach." And I will sometimes sit there and I'll just repeat that part to myself. And that just reminds me that God's love for me is bigger than any mistake that I've made. It surpasses all of my understanding. And it is without reproach. If I feel like I need more patience, if I feel like I need help memorizing Bible verses, I'll ask God for it in prayer and then I'll start practicing it. That helps me get over my self-doubt and enables me to keep preaching, to keep being a joyful missionary, believing that once again, I'm not here on my own strength, but by the power and the will of God. And because of Him, I might not be a good missionary yet, but one day I know I'll be a great one. Thank you so much for joining me on my video today. It really means so much to me. If you did enjoy this video, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel if you haven't already. God bless you, and God willing, I'll see you soon. I actually just finished the video and realized I didn't record an intro, so I had to do it while I'm on my way to the store. If Misal is hearing me, he's gonna be like, you should have scripted this. I probably should have. Thank you again for joining me. Thank you, thank you, thank you. I love you guys so much. God bless all of you.